Happiness can only be found within us. This is a truth that many modern philosophers, thinkers, and even scientists have explored over the centuries. Freedom, in turn, is the only goal that has real value in life, because it is through freedom that we can live authentically and fully. But how do we achieve this freedom? It's not something we're given for free. We have to work to achieve it. And that starts with understanding that many things are out of our control. When we let go of the illusion that we can control everything around us, we take the first step towards true freedom and, consequently, happiness. Do you want to be invincible? Then don't waste your energy fighting against things that are beyond your reach. True invincibility lies not in the ability to dominate the outside world, but in the ability to dominate yourself. Your happiness depends on three fundamental pillars, all of which are under your control: your will, your ideas about the events that occur in your life, and the use you make of these ideas. These three elements are like the roots of a tree. If they are solid and well cultivated, you will be able to withstand any storm that life throws your way. Authentic happiness is always independent of external conditions. This may seem difficult to accept in a world that teaches us to seek happiness in material goods, social status, or the approval of others. However, the truth is that these things are ephemeral and subject to constant change. Practice indifference to external conditions, not in the sense of ignoring the world around you, but in the sense of not allowing it to determine your emotional or spiritual state. Your happiness is a treasure that can only be found within you, and no one can take it away from you unless you allow them to. Stop aspiring to be anything other than the best of yourself. This is one of the most important lessons we can learn. We often spend so much time trying to be what others expect of us, or striving to achieve unrealistic standards, that we forget who we really are. True growth begins when we accept our limitations and work to overcome them, without constantly comparing ourselves to others. You have two basic options in life. You can strive to develop your reason, staying true to the truth and your values, or you can lose yourself in the pursuit of externals such as fame, wealth, and power. The choice is yours, and yours alone. Applying your skills to inner work is one of the wisest decisions you can make. While many people lose themselves in appearances, seeking external validation, and accumulating material possessions, those who dedicate themselves to self-knowledge and spiritual development find lasting peace. Being a person full of wisdom doesn't mean having all the answers, but rather knowing how to distinguish between what you can control and what you can't. This distinction is key to happiness. This distinction is the key to happiness and freedom. Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of a simple but profound principle. Some things are within our control and others are not. This idea, which dates back to the teachings of the Stoics, is as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. It is only after accepting this fundamental rule and learning to distinguish between what we can and cannot control that inner tranquility and outer effectiveness become possible. When we focus only on what is within our reach, we stop worrying about what is beyond our control, and this frees us from a great emotional burden. Keep your attention entirely focused on what is really up to you. This means focusing on your actions, thoughts, and emotions, and not on the actions, thoughts, and emotions of others. Keep in mind that what belongs to others is their problem, not yours. If you do this, you'll be immune to coercion and no one will be able to restrain you. When you know exactly what is under your control and act accordingly, you won't be forced to do anything against your will. Others won't be able to hurt you because you won't allow their actions or words to affect your inner state. When something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude towards it. Your alternatives are acceptance or resentment. Choosing acceptance doesn't mean being passive or conformist. It means recognizing that external events are beyond your control and that the only thing you can control is the way you react to them. What really frightens and discourages us is not the events themselves, but the way we think about them. It's not the things that upset us, but the way we interpret their meaning. Stop being frightened by ill-considered notions, impulsive reactions, and superficial impressions of how things are. People and things are not what we want them to be, nor what they appear to be. They are what they are. When we understand this, we stop projecting our expectations and desires onto the world and begin to see it as it really is. This allows us to deal with situations more clearly and objectively without getting carried away by negative emotions. Things themselves don't hurt us or create obstacles, nor do other people. The question is how we look at them. It's our attitudes and reactions that create problems for us. We can't choose the external circumstances of our lives, but we can always choose how we react to them. When we suffer setbacks, upheavals, or heartbreak, we shouldn't blame others, but rather our own attitudes. Petty people often blame others for their own suffering, while ordinary people tend to blame themselves. Those who dedicate themselves to living a life of wisdom, however, realize that the impulse to blame someone or something is just foolish. You gain nothing by blaming anyone, others, or yourself. No one can hurt you unless you let them. If someone irritates you, the only thing that can irritate you is your own reaction. So when someone seems to be provoking you, remember that it's your own assessment of the incident that causes this sensation. This understanding is liberating as it allows us to take control of our emotions and reactions rather than being ruled by them. When we stop reacting impulsively and start responding with clarity and wisdom, we discover that true happiness and freedom are always within our reach, regardless of external circumstances. Don't let your emotions be triggered by mere appearances. In a world full of stimuli and distractions, it's easy to get carried away by superficial impressions and react impulsively. However, true wisdom lies in learning not to react immediately, but to take a moment to reflect and understand the situation in its entirety. When something seems to be affecting us negatively, the best attitude is to mentally step back, even for a few moments, and take a broader view. This allows us to recompose our emotions and think clearly, which is essential for making balanced and fair decisions. A life dedicated to wisdom is a life focused on reason. This doesn't mean denying our emotions, but integrating them harmoniously with rational thought. Clarity of thought is not something that happens by chance. It requires training and discipline. It is through clarity of mind that we are able to direct our will correctly, staying true to our true purposes. In addition, clarity of thought helps us to understand our relationship with others and the duties inherent in these relationships. When we think clearly, we are able to act more effectively and compassionately, contributing to the well-being not only of ourselves but also of those around us. Every difficulty in life offers us an opportunity to turn inward and discover inner resources that we were often unaware of. The trials we face can reveal our true strengths and capabilities. Instead of seeing challenges as insurmountable obstacles, we can see them as opportunities for growth and self-knowledge. The good life, the one that is truly satisfying, is the life with inner serenity. Serenity is not the absence of problems, but the ability to deal with them in a balanced and calm way. The surest sign of a superior life is serenity. When we free ourselves from inner turmoil, we stop getting impatient with everything that happens. Serenity allows us to face life's challenges with calm and determination without being overwhelmed by external circumstances. It's better to live a simple life but free from grief and fear than to live in abundance but beset by worries, fears, mistrust, and uncontrollable desires. True wealth lies in inner peace, not in the accumulation of material goods. Starting a program of self-mastery is one of the most important steps we can take towards serenity and happiness. Your will is always under your control, and nothing can really stop you from continuing on your path. Spiritual progress requires us to emphasize what is essential and put aside all other things such as trivial occupations that don't deserve our attention. Besides, it's fine to be considered foolish or naive when it comes to things that don't concern us. Don't worry about other people's opinions of you, as they are often deluded by appearances. Stick to your purpose. Only this can strengthen your will and give coherence to your life. Remember that you are seeking a higher path and should not allow yourself to be distracted by the opinions or expectations of others. Don't want to be seen as sophisticated, incomparable, or wise. In fact, be wary if you are seen by others as someone special, as this can lead to a false sense of importance. The pursuit of wisdom attracts criticism, and those who seek to live according to spiritual principles should be prepared to be ridiculed and condemned. Never depend on the admiration of others. True strength does not come from external approval, but from internal conviction. Personal merit cannot derive from an external source. It must be cultivated within oneself. Grow and develop without worrying about what others think of you. Self-mastery is our true goal, and it can only be achieved through constant effort and dedication to personal growth. Evil is not a natural element in the world, in events, or in people. Evil is a byproduct of negligence, laziness, and distraction. It arises when we lose sight of our true goal in life and get carried away by superficial desires and impulses. When we remember that our goal is spiritual progress, we recommit ourselves to personal improvement and keep evil at bay. This is how true and lasting happiness is achieved. We achieve spiritual progress by facing death and calamities head-on. Instead of looking away from life's painful events, we should look at them directly and contemplate them often. Facing the realities of death, illness, loss, and disappointment frees us from illusions and false hopes. This allows us to live more authentically and fully without getting carried away by petty thoughts of envy or resentment. When we accept the impermanence of life and the inevitability of challenges, we discover that true happiness lies in living according to our values and principles, regardless of external circumstances. Adapt your desires to reality. This is one of the most important lessons we can learn on our journey towards happiness and freedom. Life and nature are governed by laws that we cannot change, and the sooner we accept this fact, the more at ease we will be. Ultimately, we are controlled by what grants what we seek or removes what we don't want. If freedom is what you seek, then desire nothing and reject everything that depends on others. Otherwise, you will always be a helpless slave, trapped by expectations and external circumstances. Try to understand what freedom really is and how it is achieved. Freedom is not a right or the ability to do whatever you want. True freedom comes from understanding the limits of our own power and the natural limits set by divine providence. By accepting the limits and inevitabilities of life and working with them, rather than fighting against them, we become free. If, on the other hand, we succumb to our passing desires for things that are not under our control, freedom is lost. Desires and aversions, although powerful, are just habits, and we can train ourselves to have better habits. Play the role you've been given well. We are like actors in a play, and God's will has assigned a role to each of us without consulting us. Some will act in short plays, others in long ones. We may be called upon to play the role of a poor person, a disabled person, an eminent celebrity, a political leader, or just an ordinary citizen. Although it is not in our control to determine what kind of role we are given, it is up to us to play our part to the best of our ability and not to complain about it. Wherever you are and whatever the circumstances, try to perform impeccably. Remember that the divine order is intelligent and fundamentally good. Life is not a series of random and meaningless episodes, but an ordered and refined whole that follows ultimately comprehensible laws. Divine will exists and directs the universe with justice and goodness. Although this is not always apparent, if we only look at the surface of things, the universe we inhabit is the best of universes. Reaffirm your resolution to rely on justice, goodness, and order, and they will be increasingly revealed to you in all areas of your life. Trust in the existence of a divine intelligence whose intentions direct the universe. Make it your ultimate goal to shape your life according to the will of divine order. When we try to adapt our intentions and actions to the divine order, we don't feel persecuted, helpless, confused, or resentful in the face of unpleasant circumstances in our lives. We feel full of strength, determination, and security. Faithfulness does not involve blind belief, but consists of constantly practicing the principle of stepping back from things that are not within our control, letting them evolve according to the natural system of responsibilities. Stop trying to anticipate events or control them. Instead, accept them willingly and intelligently. Faithfulness is the antidote to bitterness and perplexity. It gives us the conviction that we are ready for whatever the divine order intends for us. Your goal should be to see the world as an integrated whole, to faithfully incline your entire existence towards the supreme good, and to adopt the will of nature as your own. When we live in harmony with the divine order, we discover that true happiness and freedom are within our reach, regardless of external circumstances. Perfecting personal talents depends on being honest with yourself. Try to know who you are and what you're capable of first. Just as you can't create great things in an instant, it also takes time to perfect your talents and attitudes. We are always learning, always growing. It's good to accept challenges because that's how we progress to the next level of intellectual, physical, or moral development. But don't kid yourself. If you try to be someone or something you're not, you'll atrophy your true self and end up not developing the potentials in which you would have naturally excelled. Within the divine order, each of us has a special calling. Listen to yours and follow it faithfully. Watch over this moment. Take the greatest care and interest in this moment. Give yourself entirely to its particularities. Be sensitive to this person, this challenge, this task. Give up evasions. Stop creating unnecessary difficulties for yourself. It's time to really live, to fully inhabit the situation in which you now find yourself. You are not just a disinterested spectator. Participate, get involved. Respect your partnership with Providence. Ask yourself often, how can I act at this moment or carry out this special task in a way that is acceptable to God's will and consistent with it? Pay attention to the answer and take action. Even when your doors are closed and your room is dark, you are not alone. The will of nature is within you, as is your natural character. Listen to their proposals, follow their instructions. When it comes to the art of living, the material is your own life. You can't create great things overnight. It takes time. Do your best and always be good. Clearly define the person you want to be. Who exactly do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? What are your personal ideals? Who do you admire? What are the special characteristics of these people that you also want to have? It's time to stop being vague and imprecise. If you want to be an extraordinary person, if you want wisdom, then identify precisely the kind of person you aspire to be. If you keep a diary, write down what you're trying to be so that you can refer back to this self-definition. Describe exactly the behavior you want to adopt so that you can maintain it not only when you are alone, but also when you are in the company of other people. Start living your ideals. It's time to get serious about living up to your ideals. Once you have determined which spiritual principles you want to follow to the letter, submit to them as if they were laws, as if it were a sin to break them. How long can you put off the project of becoming who you really want to be? The best side of your character can't wait any longer. Put your principles into practice now. No more excuses and procrastination. You are no longer a child. The sooner you dedicate yourself to your spiritual program, the happier you will be. The longer you wait, the more vulnerable you will be to mediocrity. The more you will feel shame and regret because you know you are capable of doing better. From this minute on, swear that you will stop disappointing yourself. Cut yourself off from the rest of the crowd. Decide to be an extraordinary person and do whatever it takes to do so. Now, the journey of self-knowledge and personal growth that we have traveled throughout this text has led us to deep reflections on happiness, freedom, and wisdom. We have learned that true happiness does not lie in external circumstances, but within ourselves. It is built through self-mastery, clarity of thought, and acceptance of the things we cannot control. Freedom, in turn, is not the ability to do what we want, but the ability to live in harmony with the natural order of things without letting ourselves be enslaved by passing desires or other people's expectations. Throughout the previous parts, we explored how inner serenity, fidelity to the divine order, and commitment to our ideals are essential for a full and meaningful life. We saw that spiritual progress requires discipline, authenticity, and the courage to face life's challenges head-on. We learned that evil is not something intrinsic to the world, but a byproduct of negligence and distraction. When we stay focused on our values and purpose, we can keep evil at bay and live in peace. We reaffirm the importance of adapting our desires to reality, of playing our given role well, and of trusting in the divine intelligence that governs the universe. We discovered that true freedom lies in accepting life's limits and working with them, rather than fighting against them. And finally, we understand that perfecting our talents and pursuing an extraordinary life depend on our honesty with ourselves and our willingness to live according to our highest principles. We have now reached the end of this journey, but the learning doesn't end here. Each of us has the responsibility to continue applying these teachings in our daily lives, always seeking personal growth and harmony with the divine order. Remember that happiness and freedom are within your reach, as long as you are willing to look inside yourself and live according to your deepest values. If this content made sense to you and brought valuable insights into your life, don't forget to like this video. Your support is essential so that we can continue to share knowledge and reflections that help transform lives. Also, subscribe to the channel to keep up with more content like this. Together we can build a community dedicated to self-knowledge, wisdom, and the search for a fuller, more meaningful life. Thank you for following along. Remember, the journey towards happiness and freedom is continuous, and every step you take towards self-knowledge is a step towards a more authentic and fulfilled life. See you in the next video.